Hello, beautiful people. It's Misty and Samantha here with Pak'D Project, and it's been a while since we've been on here to do a content video. However, there's been a subject that's come up this week that has been dear to our hearts that we've never spoken about, and that is men as the victims. It is reported that 1 in 9 men endure abuse at the hands of their partner. We believe that statistic is actually higher as we feel it is in women and children as well, because these are just reported statistics. There's many reports that never actually make it to the books.
Yeah. We're going to go ahead and play a clip from his trial explaining the viewpoint on some of what he went through. He really breaks down what an abusive person does when they're attacking someone, not just physically, but mentally as well. So here we go.
Some people search for weaknesses in people. That is to say, sensitivities. And when you've told that person your life and what you've lived through, what you've been through, just as happens in relationships, the more that became ammunition for Ms. Hurd to either verbally decimate me or to send me into a kind of tailspin of confusion and depression and well, it's not a happy day. It's not a happy week. It's not a happy month when you're constantly being told how wrong you are about this or that, what an idiot you are, or anything. It just then it increased, and it became an endless. It became that endless circle. Like, so as it escalated and continued to escalate, I went straight to what I had learned as a youth, which was to remove myself from the situation.
Now, I wanted to talk to you about one of the terms that we had just recently spoke about before this video, and that is what a trauma trigger is. A trauma trigger is a psychological stimulus that promotes involuntary recall of a previous traumatic experience. Now, when some of these trauma triggers happen, they can produce feelings of sadness, shame, stress. It can cause anxiety, disassociation, numbness, and agitation. So I feel that while listening to this video, that you can kind of hear it in his voice, some of that pain, that sadness, and a lot of that stuff that they're having to rehash through this whole trial. And I feel like a lot of it is trauma triggers to what he was talking about.
So one of the things that I read on some of the comments was that this was all acting, that he couldn't keep his thoughts together. I can honestly say that I don't believe that this is acting, because we've seen actors portray someone who is in a victim situation, who is coming out, and that's not how they act. I feel that I can relate to his feeling jumpiness, or what might sound as jumpiness in his responses, because not only is being in a court and having to bring these things up, as the person that's done these things to you are sitting across the room and you're having to do this in front of them, but you also have those trauma triggers as you're talking about it and as you're reliving it mentally to convey it as accurately as you possibly can. And you're making sure that as you're speaking, whether you pause or you stutter or you get off for a moment, you're having to make sure that you are saying it accurately as you're also experiencing that pain at the inside. And I think that, the fact that he says he felt like these were things that were then later used against him as ammunition, that is very indicative of a narcissist, is to learn their victim or to learn that person so that they can continually have control over them mentally. They can control whether they hit a trigger. They're going to know when they hit one of those trauma triggers that's going to send that person into a rage. That's going to send that person into that disassociation of, you're not there in that situation now. They're making them relive it. And that is stressful enough. Especially if those trauma triggers are things that maybe you've dealt with them, but you've not fully dealt with them. And all it is opening up that wound and bringing out the worst in it.
And also, one of the things that I feel like I have noticed when it comes to the behavior of a narcissist, and when they bring up the past trigger, the past experiences that they want to throw in your face and everything like that, it is just it's always to get some sort of a reaction out of you. Yes. They want to try to bring that worst part of you, and they push and they push, and they will just dig until that comes out, and then it turns into what we've talked about before, that reactive abuse.
Yeah, reactive abuse to me is probably one of the most untalked about, undiagnosed. I don't know what the word might be, but the most realistic form of abuse that is not talked about. Physical abuse, emotional abuse, or maybe those things have just been around for so long that we know that those are forms of abuse, but there's all these other either subcategories of abuse, gaslighting, intimidation, coercion. But reactive abuse is real, and when the abuser knows how to spin it, and narcissists do learn that about themselves, but when they learn how to spin that, reactive abuse can just be an ongoing thing to where you feel crazy, just like the trauma triggers make someone feel disassociated. Well, reactive abuse does too. I mean,
yeah.
You become disassociated because those fight and flight stimulus, like responses, are all over the place. But you are reacting to what has been pushed and pushed and pushed on you. And I think that we have clearly heard audio clips from recordings that were going on during their relationship, to where you can hear her badgering. You can hear her just, and then he reacts.
Yeah. I could relate to that. I've been in reactive situations.
I definitely had reactive moments from my abuser, and they were real, they were stressful, but I didn't know what else to do. Because just like we heard where she would not stop, she kept banging on the doors and this and that, and I know that we're going to go into these on at another time, but that reactive abuse, not only is it the physical banging on the door until someone opens it, it's calling you names. It's the names that you were called in abusive past. It's things that were said to you in the past. It's opening up and being, and I feel like when you do open yourself up in a relationship, that's because you've gotten to that point of trust, you feel like, and you make yourself more vulnerable during that time. And when someone allows you to be comfortable and to feel like you're in a trusting environment, and you unload some of the weight that you carry around inside of you, and then that person turns around and uses it against you, I think there's more harm that we don't ever realize until after the fact, or we may not ever realize it, but it breaks down that trust that you have just with other humans, and it breaks down other things. But I mean, I know I'm kind of going off the subject, but
no, I mean, it's definitely on point with everything. So I think next week we're probably going to talk about another topic of this.
Yeah, because over the last 3 days, the different forms of abuse that I've picked up on top of the reactive abuse, is there's definitely been times of intimidation, emotional, gaslighting, reactive, coercion, the use of his children against him, and the biggest one that the trial is actually here because of, which is financial abuse. The defamation of character has come from the economic financial abuse, which we will get into at another time.
So thank you guys again for watching, and please just hit the like, share button, all of that, the bell, all of it, and just give us some love.
Yep, get a Pak'DProject.org. If there's any questions or comments about this subject, or if there's things that you would like for us to touch on or to talk about in these content videos, please shoot us an email, send us a comment, ask us questions. If we don't have the answers, we definitely have a nice network of advocates and people who we are learning more and more from, that we would love to be able to share the information that we learn from them.
All right, well, thank you guys so much. We'll talk to
See
you
you next
later.
time.